Welcome back, listeners. Back to Radio Ramadan Wolves 87.8 FM, and we continue conversation with my guest, Jason Britton, CEO of Staffordshire Cricket. Sure where the first 24 minutes, half an hour went, mate, but you got you talking right. I did say I was going to speak about Mr. Rafiq. Be honest with me, was it a difficult time for you?
Yeah, absolutely. I think anybody involved in the kind of administration and employment in the game, it was hard to hear. I actually represented the county. I represented Staffordshire. There was a meeting that was called subsequently down at the Oval. I think it was November 21. Not very good with time, Tariq, but it was about November 21, I think. And there was a kind of representative from each county that went down. And it was the start of the formulation of the EDI plan, the Equality, Diversity and Inclusion plan for the game. But it was shortly after we'd heard Rafiq's comments and his experiences in the game. And the one thing that really stood out for me was as he made a comment about his son, and he said something along the lines of that he didn't want his son to go anywhere near the game. And for somebody that spends 24/7 trying to get young people into our game, that's heartbreaking to hear. Yeah. It really is heartbreaking to hear. And again, whether I'm allowed to say this or not, I was in that room that day, and the atmosphere in there was exactly that people were devastated that, to hear those words around the game that we try so hard to encourage people to come to.
It's similar to me. I mean, I remember when the story broke, and being involved with the game for so long, and got so many players involved in the game, I just wanted to bury my head in the sand. I just didn't want to hear it. And it's not right that it has happened. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying for 1 minute it was right or wrong. What's gone on? I mean, what's gone on, it has been dealt with, but it was just so difficult to hear. Because I grew up in an environment where, 86 probably, you'd see the odd Asian face playing in a side, and if you did, it was like finding a long lost brother. You just wanted to know where they were from, who they were, how long they been playing and stuff. And then got into the 90s, mid-90s, 2000 probably, just that was the kick-off when there was an explosion of more Asian talent, and then there were so many Asians into the game. I mean, now you can walk into any club if you've got the talent and play for anybody. But yeah, you are right, it was difficult. It was difficult. I mean, I was reading some of his timelines, so this actually started back in 2017. Yeah. And in 2017, he reckons he complained to the Yorkshire assistant coach. I'm not going to mention any names. 2020, he first publicly spoke about it. Then you move on to December 2020, he actually launched legal action against Yorkshire. 2021, there was actually an independent panel formed. I mean, already we're 4 years into it, and no one's taken anything he said seriously.
But you just used the phrase, bury your head in the sand. It comes across that there was probably, and it's not for me to kind of, have a running commentary on it, I guess. But it sounds very much as though that phrase, seemed to be right at the front of people's minds, that they just thought that maybe if we keep our heads down, hopefully this will go away. Because there's no denying things can be very difficult to handle. That doesn't mean to say you shy away from it. You try and educate yourself and improve the circumstances around the situation as you see it.
Yeah, and then we moved on from there. 2021, for several months there was several hearings, and then other people were implicated, and then ended up with some of them, the whole entire Yorkshire backroom staff all resigned, whether it was in protest or in support of one of their colleagues who was being accused. ECB actually banned Headingley from hosting any future games. It was actually lifted in 2022. Yes. I mean, do you think it was actually fair on Headingley to get dragged all into this? I know Yorkshire has to have a home and it was a base, but the average fan had nothing to do with it, surely.
Yeah, possibly, but again, when sanctions are taken, it was a suspension that ultimately got pulled back, didn't it, at the end of the day? But there's always going to be kind of collateral damage, I suppose. And unfortunately, in that case, had that gone through, then the cricket public in West Yorkshire may have struggled to see any games that were going to be hosted there. But I think the ECB have pushed for the independent report. So the ICEC, as it's called, the Independent Commission for Equity in Cricket, and that's been finalised. I think we're due to see that published at any time now. The original publication date has kind of lapsed a little bit, but I think that's due to the volume of lived experiences. We understand there's somewhere in the region of about 4,000 lived experiences that have come through into that independently commissioned report. Not all around race, I have to say. There's there's lots of other aspects to discrimination that we're very mindful of, both around gender, ability to pay. That can also be a barrier to the game, and the very fact that the costs of accessing county cricket from a county age group perspective, coaches aren't free anymore, facilities aren't cheap, as you well know, and costs need to be covered. But for some, that can be a real barrier. That first entry point in trying to get to a trial scenario can be a real barrier. And we've worked very hard locally, and we've been supported luckily as well by the ECB to try and move that away. So that initial kind of contact, if you like, for any aspiring young players in the county, there are no fees. They've just got to get to the venue, which again, that can be an issue, but one step at a time really. But that initial cost of that child coming and showing us what they can do with a bat or a ball is free when they come and trial with Staffordshire.
And just still talking about the Yorkshire stuff. So November last year, obviously there was hearings and relevant stuff came out. Like I said, I'm not going to mention any names, but more recently there's been obviously another hearing when an ex-England cricketer was accused, and the actual wording was, I'm trying to remember the wording, was it unsubstantiated?
Not proven.
Not proven, yeah. So the point I'm making, 2017 up into 2023, whether it's the ECB's fault or whether it's the people advising them, it's taken 5.5 years to actually get this, I won't say under control, but to put a lid on it. Do you think it's fair that for 5.5 years, people up and down the country, people like myself, who other Asian, South Asian cricketers, have had to endure, well, was it right, was it wrong, had it happened, didn't it happen, why did it happen, are we safe from it?
Yeah, I think there's no winners or losers in this, Tariq, as you say. And again, we've discussed this many times separately to this evening. I think if any good will come from it, it has to be that the game addresses inclusivity. Why would you not want to isolate your potential market? Whether that that doesn't matter what colour you are, your gender, your background, your ability. There's a role, hopefully, for you, no matter what, in the game. And that may not, as I say, right at the top, it may not be with a bat and a ball. It may be in a fundraising capacity with your local community club. It may be social media expert for your club. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's about the bat and the ball. There's a whole raft of other things to encourage people.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully it is for the better. For me personally, I think it's left a sour taste, for one thing and another. And secondly, we just... you go to play cricket, you're in a changing room environment, you travel away as a team, you're in showering together, people are messing about, there's jokes going on, nothing's off the mark, you got the wrong colour hair, you're the wrong size, the wrong feet, everyone's getting abused because that's the banter, and it just creates the atmosphere in the changing rooms, everyone's taking the mickey out of everybody, and I think just so many people are not so more careful now because they just don't want to say the wrong thing and get implicated for something, which is a shame. Because it's not always about race, we're all equal in the game, we're all equal in that changing room, and people take the mickey out of anything. So it's a shame. But do you think, moving away from all of this now, do you think that's actually stunned the growth of South Asian cricketers? Not at grassroots level, I'm talking more county, above and first class level.
I'm hoping it's going to have the opposite effect, Tariq, I think. I'm hoping that we end up with a situation where we have more role models in both the administration of the game from the diverse communities that those particular boards will serve. And again, that that people will be able to see people like them in positions of administration or from a playing perspective, and encourage them more to be involved, whether that is with a bat and ball or, as I say, helping administer and in around the game.
Well, God willing, that will happen, and
Absolutely.
we can continue to grow the game, because that's what it's all about.
Yeah.
Our generation or two will be out the door in the next 10, 15 years, and we will be reliant on others to grow the game on our behalf, so to speak. I know you did a fair bit behind the scenes while all this was going on, and it must have been frantic for everybody to try and appease and trying to keep everybody on the same side. And I guess you being the boss, and having so many coaches, having so many people, and having so many clubs involved in your county, you had to be so careful of what you said and the messages you got out there. And was it difficult trying to keep everybody on the same page? And
I don't think it was necessarily worrying about saying the wrong thing. I think if there's an honesty there, and people can sometimes make mistakes, I think it's when there's a willingness behind discrimination, if you like. I mean, that there's clearly no place for that at all. Yeah. But as you said, it was a very tough time, because it's in our best interest to encourage as many people as possible into our game, because we don't have a job otherwise. But it's understanding more. And I think what we've absolutely done with the support from the ECB and stuff we were doing anyway at a local level is trying to educate ourselves better in and around lots of areas. And that's not just around race and faith, but it's also about gender. And you've heard in the last couple of days about the England football team, and the strips they're going to be wearing will be different because of consideration for the female players and that sort of stuff. And I think that's it. We just need to think more broadly, have a more open mind, and be more inclusive in the way we approach what we do, and not close any doors off.
Well, hopefully we've heard the end of it, and all parties are happy with what's happened. Everyone's moved on. We can draw the line underneath it, and just keep continuing to grow the game. But obviously, things are still going on beyond the scene. And I was contacted recently. There's the new ECB boundary. Is it the boundary project
program?
Boundary program. Yeah. Just talk to us about that and what that's about.
So the boundary program is an initiative that's come out from the ECB. It's going to be rolled out across, I think, 11 venues up and down the country in the next couple of weeks. Locally to us, there'll be a couple of days, I think on April the 25th, if my memory serves me right, one in the afternoon and one in the evening. And they are sessions to help awareness raising, really, to understand discrimination, what the protected characteristics are, and to help certainly representatives from the local league administrators, but also from club members and club officials to understand a little bit more.
Definitely.
And again, that education process and awareness raising is part and parcel of the action we're taking at a local level, but also being driven by the governing body at ECB level. And
the reason I say that, you was on a course with me, Islamophobia month, was it? Time's gone. So was it last year?
Nugent
and there's always something on, and people don't realise, especially like I said, the layman cricketer who just turns up to play. There's so much more to it, and all coaches and boards like yourself, all your staff actually went on it, and they were all encouraged to go on it and understand and find out what the differences are and the cultural.
Yeah, for me, Tariq, it's part of the professional development. Why wouldn't you want to know more about the industry you're working in, your marketplace, the people you want to encourage, and anything that helps us be more informed, more mindful of the challenges and the barriers.
Definitely.
It helps us address them. If we turn away from it and pretend it isn't there, then we've got absolutely no chance of breaking it down.
Yeah, true. Like I said, fingers crossed, mate, God willing, we moved on from here.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. I did say I was going to raise it. I was a bit unsure if I should or I shouldn't, but it's fine. Right, last few minutes then, mate. Ashes.
You can ask me for tickets, aren't you?
Tickets are so hard to get off. Have you got any freebies anywhere?
No.
And then on a more serious note, obviously England kick off with a test match against Ireland, and they're into a 5-match test series. Australia are current number 1. England are 3, and I think we've left it a bit late now to try and get anywhere near 2. So it'll probably be an India, Australia World Test Championship final. But the Ashes are up for grabs. Predictions?
I'm looking forward to it. I don't know how much of it we'll actually see. A lot of my friends will say, "Oh, you must have seen that." I said, "No, I don't get a chance to see any of it at all, really. The odd one here and there." But I think the way certainly England have geared up in these last few months, it will be nothing if not interesting. We might have a couple of very short Test matches, I think. But yeah, I think it's going to be fun to watch. But I don't think there'll be many draws, so I'm going to go 3-2 to England.
Okay. Well, I'm going to go 2-2
okay.
with the draw.
Okay.
It's going to be a rain day. That's going to crush some games. So I think it's going to be a 2-2, just because Australia are playing well at the moment. England are, but if they're going to go for the Bazball style, mate, I think that might, if it works, yes. If it doesn't, then it could be completely the opposite very quickly, couldn't it?
But I think it'll still be fun to watch. Yeah.
So, it's definitely going to be fun to watch. And I was only joking about the tickets. To be fair, you do look after us, and to be honest with you, a lot of the youth projects we do, you do throw a lot of tickets my way. And I remember the World Cup and everything we've had here. I must have gone through hundreds of tickets with you, mate. But thank you for that, mate. They're well used for the community.
Yeah.
Right. Biggest question of the day: England versus Australia, or India versus Pakistan?
Do you know, there's an old friend at my cricket club, and he's always said to me, the one thing he wanted to do was go and see India versus Pakistan in a full blown kind of probably. I think he's a bit of a purist, so it would have been a Test match really.
Okay.
But anything where you've got 100,000 screaming fans would be something to behold, I think.
Yeah.
So, whilst clearly England's my team, I'd love to see a full-blown Pakistan-India game. Yeah.
No, you're sitting on the fence there, mate. We'll say they're at par, both of them. Right, just a minute left. Just before we go, I did want to mention, and I should have mentioned it earlier. We talk about awareness. Whittingham Finchfield, who play in our leagues, the league of their own administrator, and they come under your stewardship. Yep. They're actually Iftari Day for all of their Muslim players. So, God willing, this Thursday, they invited all of the players and some of the local community, and invited ourselves as guests as well, to come and open fast with the Muslim cricketers. So I think that's absolutely an amazing idea, and I'm surprised more clubs haven't done it.
Yeah, I saw it on Whittingham Finchfield's social media a couple of days back, and I thought, what a great initiative. Exactly the sort of thing we're talking about, just being more mindful of your own club's membership. This isn't kind of another world.
Oh, yes,
this is your own club, and just being a little bit more mindful of the people that make up the teams that go out and play on a Saturday and Sunday. And I think it's a fantastic story. And as a result, I've asked the guys at our club, would they be willing? I know it's an important family time, but if they could, if they were happy to come and help us prepare something.
Great. We've got 5 seconds left. Sorry to cut you off. It's been an absolutely pleasure talking to you, Jason. I probably needed another 2 hours to get through all of my questions, but thank you very much for your time.
Thanks, Tariq.
Thank you.